And here we are on Saturday. So what's different about Saturday? Well, I have more bodies, warm bodies around me, number one, which is beautiful because we do need practice. Uh, and the teaching says in the proximity. Oh, I know, in the proximity of others, not just on a airwave or a right somewhere. And so even though it's effort required, right, it usually requires maybe getting up a little early, getting the dog out sooner, getting the coffee or tea, right, it's all true. The benefit of practice in proximity is essential. So for those of you on Zoom today, and I'm so happy that we have Zoom, by the way, I see that also as a resource very, very completely. I also see it as a crutch. They're both true, aren't they? It's both. When I just can't make that happen because there are those moments, it just can't because of the right actions, right efforts of our day. Like, for example, when I'm with my mom in Hemet. Well, I'm not going to make it here, right? It just can't happen when we're babysitting. There it is. The full catastrophe. We'll see if, well, the dog has now gone bananas, but kind of ballistic at the shepherd that's in the back. So I'm going to see if our trick works. Little man, treat. Treat. Libby, I'm practicing, right? Treat. And here he is. It worked. Ugh, I know.
Yeah, well, it won't keep working if you don't give them a treat, though, because treat means you got to get something.
No, I have to do it, don't I? If I really, do you know what, Renee? They're in Libby's room under her bed in a white canister. Just grab a couple. Okay. No, go in there. I'm making Renee do it, Libby.
Okay.
Get Renee, you get your treat. Go with her. Okay, a little practice right there. In proximity. Yeah, I know. I'm usually the one. Can you come up here? Come on. Okay, I'm gonna just
maybe keep a little jar of treats next to your chair with a little lid on it.
Give you a little love. Is this treat enough? He's going, no way. We're gonna stay. So proximity, what is it? Well, my being here with little man is more valuable than all the theory about reinforcement, isn't it? The actual practicing, the actual being it, right? Because we could talk about these all day, couldn't we? And actually the conversation might be interesting, but it's still not, okay, he got him, Lib, just so you know, I didn't fail in my job. Oh, now he's going, I think she's the one. So the actual, what I want to talk about today then is a little bit around all of this, which is what is then true practice? And then we talked last week about awakening every moment, didn't we? And that every moment is a possibility and it's infused with infinite possibilities. We just saw 100 right here, didn't we? For waking up, which means, well, it'd be easy to get frustrated, wouldn't it? It'd be easy to get fearful or worried. It would be easy to get angry at myself, the dog, or the shepherd, wouldn't it? Wouldn't this all be high probability? In fact, the teachings say it's higher probability. Does that make sense to everyone? It would be higher probability to get distressed, to get agitated, frustrated, annoyed, and then eventually to become angry, and essentially from that unskillful. And where do you suppose along that path it converts into unskillful? All the things I just said, the fear, the frustration, the irritation, the aggravation, maybe even things like regret can step in. Why didn't I put him on a leash? Where do you feel, where do you notice for yourself that you might flip over into, and Jessica and I just talked about this yesterday, didn't we? Jessica happened to be in my little tiny MBSR class talking about triggering events and their papancha and their propagation and the probability that without some factors, this is going to cascade quickly into habitual reaction, unskillfulness, lack of connection, we could say. What couldn't we really, first to oneself and then to the other?
Your monkey mind.
Monkey mind taking over, says Dennis. What else do you all know? Where, and the question I asked was, I'm going to stay with it because we know what reactions feel like, because they always feel bad. They are always, and it is guaranteed, the path to suffering. It is guaranteed. The minute that fires without something else, it is guaranteed to propagate the path to suffering. So what happens, do you suppose, that prevents that otherwise very strong neural network from just playing? Write it in the chat, come on, or say it here. What do you suppose occurs, intervenes, that can change the tide, we'll say, of that neural network?
I'd say a brief pausing, just being able to stop, not do anything for a moment, and practice in and of itself tends to strengthen that ability for me.
To pause. What would you need before you paused? Because why would you pause?
You'd already have to have the skill of being mindful or aware of the present moment internally and externally.
You'd have to know something, wouldn't you? So we use words then like what? Awareness. Somebody used a different word, awaken. That would be a more typically Buddhist term, awakening, to the words we often use, friendly words like recognize, like everyday word to keep you grounded so you don't go enlightenment. What day is that? What? Forget about it. Awakening, I guess, right? But just let's say recognize. And then Renee pointed to her body and said, you just come back into your body. Now, these are all skillful actions already, aren't they? They're already actions. And so the Buddha says, thinking about the practice insufficient. Think. Not going to help you. And in fact, his definition of awakening or enlightenment, those other words that we often don't think about because we go, here's no chance in this lifetime that I'm going to get to that, is not accurate. In fact, every time Renee gets back in her body, every time Libby brings awareness to, I am caught in the tumult of old habit or distress or reactivity, or even the unpleasantness. And the Buddha said this, I love this, or the pleasantness, he said. Either one. We tend to think of reactivity typically being in response to an unpleasant event, right? That's where we often begin to catch it. And the truth is, we are actually well more addicted to the pleasant. We miss that often. Can you see how that could happen? Because we believe the storyline attached, don't we, to the pleasant? What's the primary storyline that keeps us some distance from recognizing pleasant events as also being as or more reactive than the unpleasant? We focus on the unpleasant all the time, though, because they're so easy to catch, because we're all going, didn't like that. I didn't want that. I'm well aware of my not liking, not wanting, the body's clenching, gripping, right? There's all kinds of physiologic reactivity that comes. But the Buddha says, oh no, oh no, 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 no. That's not even half the story. It's just the one you want to get rid of. It's just the one you want to attend to because you're trying to get out of it. Is it true? Yes. So we really work hard, don't we, on those unpleasant moments, because actually we're addicted to something else. What is it? The pleasant, says Dia. The one I liked, the one I wanted, the one I planned on, the one I'm certain should actually be occurring. Aren't we? This should not be happening with the dog. What should be happening is him sitting here quietly to fit my scenario, right? Just mine, small world of me. And so the Buddha said the work towards awakening is not only in recognizing unpleasant, that it would be a big mistake, because that would then be what's the word we use for that? Just trying to get rid of all the negative, all the unpleasant. First of all, it's impossible, because what? Life is going to hold loss, grief, illness, aging, and death in it. We can't get out of it. So, bypassing, spiritual bypassing. I spend a lot of time trying to recognize the unpleasant and convert it for what? My interest. My interest. I just want it to go my way. And the Buddha says this is a big mistake, because everything that's currently arising, including that dog barking at that shepherd in the corner, including the things Renee didn't want, and Jeanette didn't want, and I don't want, and Jim didn't want, and Greg, who just fell down some stairs in Florence, didn't want. Didn't want them. He just said I could say it out loud today. And the reason I'm saying it out loud is so that we remember what? The truth of the vulnerability of this precious human life. Even when I see Greg every morning that I'm at the Y, walking, running on that treadmill. Every time I'm there, I see Greg coming or going from that time, right? So all that right action, right? Skillful, disciplined, efforted, right? Beyond pleasure would be much more convenient, wouldn't it, to just sit there and have a cup of tea or coffee, or right? It doesn't what? Prevent you. It doesn't protect you from the whole, does it, of this life? It doesn't mean it doesn't matter either, does it? I'm not implying that. It doesn't mean it isn't skillful. It means even in the practice, even when you're 100% present, even when you say, I'm understanding this as a moment of difficulty, I am understanding this simply as a moment of pleasant, right? The very calling it out, we say, is the beginning of the path. It does not prevent the truth, does it? And we all sit going, if this could only work better. And we've all had the thought. I had it on the plane going to New Zealand, didn't I? Going, wait a minute. I've been doing this for 30 years. where's how is this happening? That I'm sitting in a well of doubt. Perfect awakening moment, wasn't it? Really? And it did wake me up. I went, what was I imagining? What was I thinking the perfect present moment was supposed to look like? And what did I do? I did the thing we all do, which is plaster. It should be pleasant. It should be easy. It should be easier. I should know. We do all of this to ourselves, don't we? But see, this is not the truth, is it? It's just the storyline we've grafted on to the suffering storyline, which is if we practice enough, if we get skillful enough, if we're loving enough, compassionate enough, if we're concentrated in mind enough, then we will not confront the whole truth of this life. Is it true? It's crazy, isn't it? When you say it out loud, you go, that wasn't a brilliant thought. But in fact, though, then the Buddha goes on. He goes on, this is not the end of the story. He says, however, pain will be pain, loss will be loss, grief will be grief, and you can abide it all. See, we don't get out of anything, do we? And then we go, my fucked up life. What happened? This should not be happening. Just something small like the dog. This should just, but it isn't true, is it? It is, however, true that from this path, from these practices, from this very awakening in every moment we can, and maybe even beginning with the ones we don't like, right? Because it does draw a certain very precise attention, doesn't it? We wake up a lot in the thing I didn't want, I didn't pick, I'm not in the mood for, shouldn't be happening, don't we? And Libby was right. She said, if we could bring simply awareness to it, this would be the beginning of a complete, really just complete, like magic almost in the long run, transformation. Except pain is pain, said the Buddha. And we weren't getting out of it, were we? And loss is loss. And we weren't getting out of it. And grief is grief. And that wasn't going to magically turn into fairies and unicorns, right? That would be unreasonable. And the Buddha goes on, and we can awaken in it all. That's very comforting for me, isn't it? It's comforting to go, even this, even in the doubt, even in the difficulty, even in the not wanting, even in the pleasant, even in the preferred, even in the right, I can in any single moment awaken. And this gives me, now I have not only the truth of that, confidence in it, I have continuing faith in it, because I see the difference, even for Greg here, who wrote me this morning, and he said, wow, let me tell you what, being in a foreign country, falling down a lot of stairs, having to be in the hospital, being concerned and not speaking a language is a real opportunity. And he wasn't joking, was he? It's a real opportunity to wake up and be, here's the word I was struck by, grateful. Grateful. Grateful for what? Being here now, waking up to what's right here, going, well, I don't speak the language, but they seem pretty nice. Nobody seems to want to make this worse for me. They're not putting me in a pot of boiling water. They're right. There is some evidence for care, for genuine concern, for wishes for his well-being. He made contact with all of that right in the midst of the unpleasant. Maybe you have a broken hip or a broken ankle. Maybe you aren't going to stay on your month-long vacation. And then we can already feel that grip, can't we? Right? Look. And so then the point of today was awakening is not sufficient as a good idea as a way of simply getting out of life or then getting out of pain. And we like to put pain, loss, and grief right in to the category that the Buddha called suffering. And he didn't mean that. He did not mean that. That's not what he meant. What he meant was your addiction to wanting it your way. That's what he was going to help you see. Your addiction to your preferred storyline, your preferred weather report, your preferred vacation plan, your preferred, right? I just wanted it like this. He says, oh, I can help you a lot here. A lot, because you're going to have to keep recognizing that very story as the primary cause of your suffering. I hated that part. I don't like that part. So, primary cause of your suffering is your fabulous storyline about how you thought your life, the lives of your children, the lives of your dog, the lives of your work should go. And he said, while you're deluded over there, by the way, sitting very intently, you're simply wishing. We all know this. We all know it. Come on. If enough, it'll happen. I can make it happen. He says, forget about it. This is wishing, hoping, wanting, and praying for another moment. Right? For another moment. Here's a problem. It takes you right out of the one you're in, doesn't it? Because look where the mind went, into the delusion, into the fantasy, into the addiction, into the preference called what I wanted or what I didn't want, right? And he says, no freedom there at all. Now, even the seeing of it is actually the beginning of the path, isn't it? There I am, not wanting doubt. There I am, thinking this is pretty inconvenient timing on a 13-hour flight where you're stuck in a seat with yourself. Not at all. In fact, quite perfect. Because had I been able to do almost anything else, I probably could have gotten out of it. Right? Anything, including learning to knit. Anything. Gardening, anything. Let's make a cookie. Let's something. Get me out of here. It would have come. It had been a flash. I'd have gone, ugh, who wants this? And I could have easily moved into some kind of what we'll say is unwholesome, says the Buddha, doing. And so then, unwholesome doing. It gives me a little goosebump because then I remember how much time I spend over there in unwholesome doing. It doesn't mean the cookies aren't good, does it? It doesn't mean the heart of the making them isn't correct. It means you have to be a little bit careful, says the Buddha, that you're not distracting from the reality. The thing that actually requires wholesome, wholehearted complete, look at the words he uses there. Like all of you here. Why? Because this is the moment of awakening. Dia's got a question.
Well, I'm just thinking, in those moments, just modern psychology, thinking of, oh, wow, that's a way of coping, right?
Yes,
You're gonna go make those cookies because this is so unpleasant.
yes,
So recognizing, wow, this moment is very unpleasant. I'm
Yeah.
aware.
yes,
I'm choosing to go make these cookies.
yes.
I'm choosing a unwholesome, pleasant activity.
Yeah, I'm in a state. I know exactly what you're saying, by the way, Dia. What Dia is saying is if you make a skillful choice, and the skillful choice is in this moment I am drowning, or I am not resourced sufficiently to attend to this moment, wouldn't it be appropriate and wholesome, she says, to then change activities or maybe take a walk? And the answer would be, of course. Wouldn't it? Of course it would. It probably still wouldn't be cookies, though, would it? I don't think so. I think that's actually heading down distraction lane. I think it might be, let me move the body with this body, staying in contact with this experience, because just sitting in it is feeling too hard, too difficult, too overwhelming in this moment. It might be, I'm actually just even going to put away, it says in the PTSD therapies, I'm actually going to even disconnect for a minute with this body because it's so charging, it's so activating. I can't even be here without losing my mind, right? So I'm just going to get out into nature and just stare at a sky, just going, remembering, awakening and remembering the truth of my own nature, right? Then I would say skillful, wholesome, and wholehearted. But I don't think that's mostly what we do. I don't think it is. I think it'd be a mistake to say we are. I think we're busy, though. I think we're busy, but I don't think that's the point. The Buddha said himself, dispassion in the activity would be more skillful. Dispassion in it, which means don't run to the pleasant just because you can. Don't do it. You might just find, where's the space closest to the truth? How about if I said it that way? Closest to the truth where I could abide. Get what I'm saying, Renee? Closest to the truth where I could abide, which probably isn't knitting a scarf right then. It probably is, oh, wow, flooded like this, thoughts like this, and really working to get out of like this. And with that awareness, how could I get right back as close to the present moment as I could? Well, we know, name, and describe. That would be one. We could just note and name sensations in the part of the body that could tolerate it. Maybe the feet, some distance from the activating lane. We might just be able to go, oh, pulsing, warm, sticky, wet, right? Because I can stay in the body down there. I could actually be present without having to abandon the whole of my experience, right? What Joko would say, could you feel the sun or the wind on your face and stay? Just in that for a moment, right? And so are we getting the difference between a lot of activity, maybe even productivity, because we're addicted to that too, aren't we all? And really abide And what would that then really look like? And the Buddha himself says this then is a true moment of enlightenment. You see what he means? You didn't just do the easiest, most pleasant, most thing you could do. And we have a problem in this culture because we have a lot of things to pick. We have infinite options for ways to get out of the unpleasant with, right? And I'm not saying any of them are bad because I don't believe they are. This would be a misunderstanding. I'm saying we can tend, especially in a culture of affluence, to use all of that. For not being with the whole truth of this human life, which comes with things we like and things we don't, things we want and the things we don't. And then just for a moment, we're going to practice. How would you practice differently? If you knew this to be true, and I'm seeing you nod, so I know you're getting some piece of this. The Buddha said the knowing is not sufficient. It is not sufficient. All the knowing in all the world, all the insight, all the scholarly review is not sufficient. You must then, with the knowing, follow the eightfold path. You recognize what's true. You then begin to effort, don't you? Right? You set the intention towards, I'm going that away because that's the truth. This hurts. This is unpleasant. I'm confused. I don't know. I didn't want it. I didn't feel like it. It's all fine. You just keep naming them. I know this to be true, right? And so right view, seeing it clearly, leads to right aspiration, right? I'm setting the right star. I'm setting the right course. I got to go that away, not to knitting and cookie making. I'm heading over here. And then what's the very next right? What's the word? Action, effort, living. How do I live now if I know this? And the Buddha said, awakening isn't it's not the bright idea. It's the path. I saw it. I paused. Well, that's brilliant. I set the course. I investigated what might I do here? And then I find the available next step towards, and this, he said, the whole of the path is awakening. I love that too. He didn't say, and then at the end, after those ridiculous 8 steps that no one can remember, including 30-year teachers, then you're awakened. He said, oh, no, just like that reactivity cycle. Every single dot on the cycle is an opportunity and a moment to go, okay, not this, not now, not right, is awakening. Why? Closer, more true, more, right? Isn't this encouraging? So even when you couldn't yet not scream treat to the dog, I've been practicing. Treat. Right? I already know I'm closer because I am now in service, not only to the dog, not only to the other dog, not only to all of you, but to me, right? Because I'm not as distressed. I'm not as unglued. I'm still in my Dharma seat. And I know, like you know, that that very moment in me is actually of benefit to you. Isn't it? It is. And then the next, and then the next. And so look at all the awakening now. From just not just going to get to the pleasant, not just going to get busy, not just going to get out of. right? And look at the courage then, isn't it? That's some fearlessness. That is true warriorship, says Chogyam. That is the Bodhisattva path. And just in the telling of the truth, look at the dog. Right? The dog says, yeah, okay, it's right. I can settle in to this. This is a place to rest. This is a place to be, right? And we call that the Dharma seat. And so we're gonna do it now. We are. No, we're gonna actually do it. I'm not kidding. Here, look, I'll get the bell. When he sees the bell, he goes, oh, okay. So we're going to come back into this from listening. We come into the Dharma seat, the seat of the present moment. And that looks like simply feeling the sense of the body in whatever position or capacity it happens to be in. This is the beginning of not seeking the pleasant, actually, but just recognizing things as they are, just simply as we sit here. The felt sense of the chair, the feet in contact with the floor, and maybe the uprightness of the head and spine. And so it is a light touch. This Buddha mind coming home to the Buddha body, finding your Buddha seat. Sometimes called the Dharma seat. This seat is the complete seat of awakening. And then beyond the body itself, we ignite the heart. That bodhisattva heart, which means I will sit not only for myself and my awakening, but the awakening of others. And then the awakening of all things and all beings. And then we move from that aspiration into what? Right action, right effort, right practice. And we rest the attention in the in and or out breath. And based on the tradition, based on the school, you can choose any. We've been resting on purpose in the out breath. Why? We're dissolving this one body, this one mind, this one aspiration into the infinite. It is no longer just me and my breath sitting here in this seat. Placing primary attention then in the dissolving out breath. Letting go of any clinging to me or mine. Opening to the whole of this life in its arising and its passing. As that essential first mark of existence. All sounds, all breath, all sensations, coming and going. And beginning with the out breath until you have sufficiently stable mind. And if you notice that you're being caught by the sound of the bird or the sound of the fountain or even the sound of my voice, you're letting that be in the background. If you're noticing you're caught by it, then just stay in the release of the out breath. If you can see it as well in its arising, its changing, and its passing, then you're likely sufficiently stable to open beyond the out breath to that sacred infinite gap. The resting place of the whole of the awakened heart mind. Abiding infinite space with that sky-like quality of mind that then makes contact with that essential truth. All objects that arise, change, and pass away. Let's see if we can't rest in that for a time. Whenever you notice that you're caught in the seeking of the pleasant, I'm noticing as I'm opening into space the sound of the bird. I notice a little pull, a little tug over into that direction. And remember, without recrimination, without aggression, I smile at the recognition. And then once again am awakened to the whole truth of this life, opening to everything, opening in all directions. And if I am insufficiently stable, that's just fine. Knowing that too is an act of awakening. I can simply come back and engage in the out breath. Recognizing wandering mind, awaken. Recognizing preference, awaken. And as we practice moment by moment, we begin to recognize the pull of the pleasant, the aversion to the unpleasant. Or the completely spaced out, I don't even know where I am or what I'm doing. This too is a moment of awakening. knowing a thought as a thought. Awakening. And in this practice, we are cultivating non-preferential, non-reactive contact. Things we like, things we don't like, we abide them equally. Wherever the attention lights, we see the truth of the marks of existence. Everything that arises also passes. Establishing the truth of impermanence. Everything to which we cling or to which we reject equals suffering, with no exception. And life as it is, arising and passing on infinite causes and conditions, making it wholly unreliable. Cannot be kept, it cannot be sustained. Making it unsatisfactory for our craving, desiring, grasping minds. And in the seeing, awakening. This is the path to true happiness and freedom. And thus we train both on the cushion and in every other moment. And may it be of benefit. So be it. And then you hopefully can see how the practice, these very practices inform, influence, impact the way we live, right? Because we see, oh, a little grippy over there, liking, pleasant, wanting to keep. Oh, a little, right? Like not so much, a little too cold, a little too birdy, a little too, and can feel that felt sense of retraction, contraction. Very important. right? Very important to know. And so then, and so how does this practice inform your understanding? What did you notice?
He has been saying to me for the last 15+ years. And he's right. And I forget. He's always. Anytime I listen. So sometimes wonder. Why doesn't it finally sink in?
It's a pretty regular thought of mine too. Pretty regular. Although I have to say what is also true is I think it is. I'm noticing in myself after a lot of years, I'm probably less inclined towards the reaction. I'm probably less inclined towards the judgmental thought. Or my more lineage-based warrior nature, right? My Chicago carpenter nature. There clearly is benefit and impact, and it is not yet complete, is also true. Because what? Well, then alive this moment with the conditions that you have never confronted before, right? You've never been here. You've never been with this. And the cultivation of what the Buddha called dispassion, which is really a complete surrender. He says takes infinite lifetimes. And the description of that, which just kind of cracks me up, is this. He says, how long does it take to complete enlightenment? And the answer is, as long as it takes a bird brushing a ribbon across a mountain to erode the whole of the mountain. So then the 15 years doesn't look so bad. Like, really, I'm on the track. I'm on track. This is not so bad. When I hear that, what I understand is that it is continuous, right? It is never ending. And that if you think you have finally gotten there, you are likely mistaken. You are likely mistaken. I'm not sure any of that would apply then, would it, to the truth of the teaching, which is, well, you haven't been here with this, like this, and you might give yourself a little break on the truth of that. But the aspiration itself, the seeing that, number one, he says, is the path. Seeing, well, I haven't been here before. The then aspiration to be present to it, in it, and then be skillful, right aspiration. Well, this counts for something, right? And then all the actions we would then take, all the thoughts we would then apply, all the recognitions we would then assert would be the path. That would be genius, wouldn't it? And so then where would the failure be? Well, it couldn't. It would simply be in hitting your head against that same exact brick wall infinite numbers of times. And the failure isn't in that it's that it hurts. And we keep doing it. Right? It hurts and we just keep doing it. And so then how do we wake up? We go, there's something here in the way I'm doing this that's actually within my sovereignty, my agency, that I might want to keep looking at, even if I can't see it today. And then you stop blaming life. Don't you? This is a big old switch from my point of view. You stop blaming the partner. You stop blaming the situation. You stop blaming the circumstances. You stop blaming the day. You stop blaming the dog, right, for being a dog. Don't you? And look at all the available space now and energy that you would have available if you just did that. I won't just keep blaming everything else for my suffering, the Buddha said. I will actually start to turn towards what am I doing now in the wanting, not liking, not liking, thinking it should be another way, hoping for some other, right? Which would be just by itself, from my point of view, infinite access to wisdom and energy. If we just did that in a moment, wouldn't it? You just wouldn't be all caught up. And that would be amazing. Would you like it? I don't think so. Not necessarily, says the Buddha. Because I didn't say it would all of a sudden become pleasant. And this is one of our myths, isn't it? This idea of being out of suffering means we like it, it's blissful, and he says, this isn't even the path. This is just one of the little things along the way that I put in there to make you stay on it for a while. But it isn't the point, even. And then, yes, can we be in dispassion, are the words he used. He doesn't say fun. He says, then you will accomplish true freedom. You will stop gripping after the things that simply are pleasant and rejecting the truth of the unpleasant, making you completely available, finally, to the life you're in. Isn't that amazing? Like just completely available to the life you're in right now. And then what? Of benefit, a contribution to, because you're just here now. There's nowhere else to get, to go, to be, to.
40 years at the bedside. These last 15 years have provided a significant standard. Not all the answers, but acceptance. Yeah. Not only for those who are at the bedside, but for myself, for my bedside.
That's right. Right? You're less likely to blame everybody else in it. Like, how is this happening to me? Is probably not going to occur to you, Jim. I will say. You're probably going to go, right? The day was guaranteed. The illness, the sickness, the aging was a part of it. We don't even have to fight it. We can, and then how do we become most open-hearted, I would say, in the face of it? Well, not as long as we're resisting. Not that way. Right? Not that way. And there was Greg who fell down the stairs. I'll use him as my final example before we go. And he was like, yeah, you know, I thought I probably broke something. And then I didn't. And then I thought, well, that's pretty good. And then I thought that probably was from, you know, I said, you're like rubber, you know, I wrote something like that. And right. And what do we also know? There will be a day where you don't get up, where you don't brush it off. And that makes this day most precious, doesn't it? Completely precious from my point of view, because there's guaranteed. Right? And so all good. All good. And the truth is also sometimes hard, right? Because you don't get up, because it doesn't go the way. And we aren't supposed to get rid of that. The Buddha says we will never get rid of that lizard brain and its job, which is to fight for life. And that we don't have to. We just have to understand who's talking. Right? Just go, this is just me, want what I want, not wanting what I don't want. I don't even have to try to get rid of it. It's the seeing it clearly that matters. Because then you go, every time I've grabbed it, it doesn't work out. Every time I've rejected it, it didn't get me anything. Right? And then we stop all the gaming, all the strategizing, and all the demand, I think. Isn't it? A lot of demand on life. It should just be my way.
I'm a big planner. And I always think, and I have always thought of my planning is like skillful action, but I'm thinking about it right now.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. What else is in it?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean there's
exactly.
any problem with planning. though.
No.
But what's the hook in it for me called then
making
I
it
can
better,
Mhm.
making it not happen again. Yeah.
Avoiding the
Avoiding
difficulty,
difficulty.
right? And by the way, bringing the extension cord might be useful, and it might be the thing you trip over.
Yeah, exactly. I've done both.
Uh-huh. I know you have, because we all have. That's how I was able to come up with that one. Like, look at me, so smart. Brought the thing I went right over. Right? Now, by the way, I'm not blaming the cord or the planning for the cord. It's just that I couldn't yet see the truth of the present moment. Why? I'm not in it yet. I don't know this one. Can I be completely awake and open here? And it says, as long as you have preference, and as long as you have aversion, and as long as you're trying to check out of it altogether, you can't. So be watchful of the habit. As long as I'm going to get what I want, as long as I'm going to reject what I don't want, and as long as I just check out of the whole, there will be no path there to the end of suffering in that moment. Now, here's the part I love. If I know I'm wanting, it still frees me a little. It's cool. Even just going, no, I kind of want it to be sunny. I do. I'm going to just say it. I would prefer a sunny day. The very knowing that unhooks something, because now I recognize preference as preference. Now I simply know thought is thought. Now I know the day may never turn sunny. It doesn't make it a good or bad day at all. Right? The wisdom of that comes, and then I smile and look at the path right from just acknowledging. I prefer a sunny day. It's not a problem. As long as I know preference is preference, thought is thought, and the reality that this life in its greater wisdom will do, in fact, exactly what it is conditioned to do. It may not be a sunny day, but that doesn't mean anything about how to live the day, does it? Doesn't. There's no less love in the day. There's no less skill in the day. There's no less wisdom in the day. So no problem, except I just like sunny. This has been a nice week. Right, little man? Okay. All right. So I'm going to check our time. Jim, can you help me? 10 till 9. Any other thoughts about this? I really want us to understand this, because I think we're wasting a little bit of time in a way that I don't want you to, which is, if I could, the belief thoughts are frequently this, and I hear them a lot. Well, I dropped in on the present moment and it didn't work out. What? This isn't magic. It did work out. Your being there was it. And it didn't go the way you would have wanted or liked. And that's good to know, because then we get to look at causes and conditions to the suffering. What was, in fact, the problem? Well, I didn't want that, actually. And now we can approach the next moment with a little lighter, can't we? A little more spacious, a little more open-hearted, going, it doesn't mean we have a bad day if it doesn't turn out to be as sunny as you liked at all, does it? In fact, the beauty of each day is what you can begin to open to, right? Sunny and not sunny. Right? And be watchful, because we frequently look at our conditions as the evidence of our lives. You know what I'm saying? We look to the conditions as the evidence to what's working and not working. It is not a good plan. We look to the quality of our own heart mind as to what's working and not working. Because what? We already know everything that arises is going to pass. Everything that comes is going to go. That will not be securable ever, right? And then we go, but if it was really working, I could get a hold of it. Or I wouldn't care. I've heard that recently, which is, I'm noticing that I keep feeling bad about it. And it feels like something you might feel bad about. It's okay to feel that loss, that grief, right? Well, I was thinking if my practice were right, then I could what? Avoid or get out of or not care. Well, this is the opposite. This path is the opposite of that. You're going to have to be wholehearted in the grief, wholehearted in the reality of change and loss. And then everybody goes, oh, I don't know. I don't know. Not really. No. And I promise you, that is the way to the end of suffering. Because grief is grief, loss is loss, confusion as confusion is the path. We weren't getting out of it, and we weren't transforming it before we arrived. Before we arrived. But what's the other truth? But we can transform it by arriving. And I love that. We can. You in it. Wholehearted, completely present, transforms it. And you didn't do anything. You just showed up. And I have evidence for that over and over and over. And so do you, right? I didn't know what, I'm here. Here I am. And we don't even do it with ourselves, do we? We don't show up fully for ourselves. But this is the way. Okay, so we're going to commit ourselves again, right? Just now to that. Being here as I'm listening, ooh, a little tight belly. Going, ooh, that's true. I maybe have been working to try to get out of the stuff I don't like and to get the stuff I do like. And I do know that this path will take you there. I don't have any doubt. But what you like is the end of suffering and completely open heart. That's what you really want in it, right? For you and then everyone else. Right? That's it.
So I did fall and break my hip in England. Luckily, I understood most of it.
Yes. And still not all of it. Yes.
But I had to be there for a month. And it was the best teacher.
Oh, that's what Greg is saying. He says, what a beautiful teacher. Where I thought it should be, how I thought it should be, how I thought the trip would go, how I thought I should be in the trip, how I thought all the time at the Y would equal X and Y and Z, and right, I'm a blah blah and can still blah blah, and so how did this happen? And the scene, and right, there is a benefit. They even call it maybe something close to right humility. You know, it's a word like that, like wise humility, which is to bow, right? And we're practicing that every day. To what? The truth of this moment and its causes and conditions that I will have zero impact in. It won't matter how many times I ran. It won't matter how much bacon I didn't eat. It won't matter that I used oat milk at all. But we have a little sorcerer in us, don't we? Like, if only I could get this right, then you're not going to get it right enough. Right? I remember getting mad at one of my friends because she put skim milk in everything. I just got like infuriated. I went, just put real milk in it, just once for me. Really? Just because you're making me nuts about this. Because you're just, everything is not that, is not that, not that. Just put milk in it. And I could see the struggle. And it was like, and I'm like, no, it won't kill you. Honest. Right? I was actually speaking to something, but it didn't have to do with milk. Right? I just saw it. I was like, you better watch it because this isn't going to save you. Be careful. It doesn't mean it can't be skillful either. And you better be careful about how you grip onto that thing going, this will do it for me. Because is there anything? You can't find the thing. I don't care what it is. I don't care how much treadmill or yoga or skim milk. You are not going to get out of the truth that everything that arises also passes, right? And that's what Jim said. That's what Jim said. And it does then mean once we give up the fantasy and grow up, we can actually show up. Isn't it true? Once we give up the fantasy, we can actually show up, which is then I just better get here with this. And that is the path. I just show up with it. Okay, let's do our prayer. Good to see you, Leslie. I saw you come on. The Bodhisattva prayer is the reminder about the aspiration to be in every moment completely the good medicine, completely of benefit, completely available to whatever is needed in that moment. And so we recite it every day for that reason. And just to be sure that in this, you understand that the calling out of it is to, let's say, everything. There is no theistic, I'm calling to, you could say to the Buddha in everything, to the God in everything, right? There's no guide, you know, it's to the whole of it, right? We call it out to the whole of it. May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles, and for the boundless multitudes of living beings. May I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and the sky, until all beings are free from sorrow and all are awakened. And may our practice this very day awaken us and contribute to the freedom, the happiness, and the awakening of all beings. So be it. We're getting the idea, aren't we? Yes, we are. Yeah, get it over and over and over again. So my friend Mike Shook, you're so welcome, Robin. Good to see you. My friend Mike Shook would say, but I've already seen it once. Why do I have to see it again? And the truth is, there is no again, is there? Every moment new, every moment its own causing condition, every moment its own constellation, never actually to be repeated. And so even though I saw greed like this, now I have to see it like that. And then I have to see it like that. And that and that. And John Kabat-Zinn called that the orthogonal rotations. One might say the infinite incarnations of greed, of hatred, of delusion to get to its end. And so the forgetting is essential, isn't it? Because you have to see how I fell into that asleep, grippy, rejecting moment again, right? This is the path. There's no way out of it. You can't just jump over and get some. You're going, and then like that, it hurt. And then it hurt like that. And then it hurt again. And then I forgot again. And then I again and again and again and again. And we call that failed practice, but it's not true. It is the path. So don't feel like you're getting it wrong. You're not getting it wrong. You're getting it. You're like, and then I fell over again and went, well, that didn't work out. And then I wanted something else. Well, that didn't work out. And then I thought if I got really mad about it, I could influence it. Well, that's for sure didn't work out. I thought I'd give some more advice. Well, that isn't even slightly, right? But look at the wisdom moments, every single one. And that is actually one of the definitions of awakening, isn't it? That I understood something from it called don't yell at the dog to give the dog a treat. It's probably not going to work. Even with the treat at the end. The dog's like, I don't think so. So I'll just keep barking at the dog. But isn't that knowing now? And look, just from one little understanding, just with gentleness, it could change. Isn't it? Yeah. Thank you all so much. If you would help me put the blankets back in the tub over there. I think it has a yellow top. Also, we are looking for anything for Philabelli this coming Thursday.
For a main course and a side dish.
Still a main course and a side dish. If there's anybody out there who would like to contribute a main dish or a side dish, we are looking for supports. And we will do that on Tuesday. Also, I have confidence we will arrive to that. Yes, no problem. Thank you all so much. Be well, everyone. See you soon. See you on Tuesday.